It's crazy to think that even some of the most driven and obsessed people with their ambitions and goals will never achieve their goals because they've already given up on their goals. And as contradictory as it sounds, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Now, the other day I was talking about anime with my brother, and he was mentioning Blue Lock and how great Blue Lock is. And although it was an anime that I saw and I was planning to watch because it seemed quite interesting, it had some cool images, and I'm always up for a good sports anime. I never quite, I wasn't going to watch it anytime soon. But he convinced me. He was talking about how great it was. He even mentioned that it's like the best anime out there. Well, second best, he says, because obviously I know like he thinks the greatest anime and story of all time is AOT, and I respect that he thinks it's AOT. But the fact that he thinks Blue Lock is the second best is something that I find quite egregious. There's so many good anime out there apart from Blue Lock. I just don't understand that take. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked from the video. So he was watching Blue Lock and he was telling me to watch it, and so I watched it, and it's a really weird anime. It's a football anime, and it's about training the best striker in the world. Well, from Japan to be the best striker in the world. And it's a bit weird because it's not about a whole football team, it's just about the strikers. And they even play an 11-a-side with 11 strikers on each team, right? So that's a bit weird, right? It's a bit weird for a football match, right? And I'm not American because I keep saying football instead of soccer. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird anime. But the whole point of this anime is about what it takes to win, what it takes to succeed, and what it takes to reach your goals and ambitions, especially really competitive goals and ambitions, and really, I guess, dreamlike goals and ambitions. But the whole series revolves around the different aspects. And in the 18th episode of this series, so yeah, I guess spoilers for people who haven't reached the 18th episode, there was something about giving up which I found quite interesting, and I've thought about it recently in regards to myself. Now, this topic on giving up is something that seemed like a vague anime concept at first, but the more they expounded on it, the more it kind of made sense, right? The idea of not just giving up as an active thing, but more of a subconscious thing. And I think that's a very important aspect which a lot of us don't talk about, but it's something that creeps up on a lot of people. And I think this may be the reason why a lot of people burn out along the journey, give up, ultimately. Maybe sometimes why, although you may be feeling like you're putting in a lot of effort, you probably aren't making a lot of progress to whatever goals and ambitions that you have. Now, generally, when we think of giving up, it sounds like an active thing, like you've just had enough, you've probably done everything you can, and you've just now given up. Kind of like when someone gives you a riddle and you try all your guesses and it just doesn't work out. But giving up seems like an active thing, like you just accept it. But I guess in the idea of giving up, you have this idea where you allow yourself to be kind of taken over by some kind of emotion or addiction. So the idea of giving up may not necessarily be an active or conscious thing that we do. You can allow yourself to be taken over by emotions and addictions quite subconsciously as well. Like before you know it, you are addicted to something, or you're awash with a certain emotion. And I think that makes sense. However, how does this relate to the idea of giving up and how you can do that subconsciously? Great question. So the idea in the series is that most people, when they reach a wall, when they lose, when they fail in some way or form, they create excuses for themselves. People create excuses. They think about all the things that, are just unfair in a sense between them and their opponents, and to people who are successful and people who aren't. And they use those excuses as crutches in a sense. And so people get happier in the sense of then chasing the goal instead of achieving the goal. This is the whole idea that, of enjoying the journey, enjoying what happens. It's a bit of a weird thing that happens, but it's where people enjoy the journey more than they do actually reaching the goal. Now, tangent completely from this, but still give you an example. I think this relates to One Piece very well. Now, you don't even need to know anything about One Piece because I'll explain it to you and everything I mean. Now, the anime One Piece is about pirates who are trying to look for the greatest treasure, which is the One Piece. And while a lot of people may feel like, on the surface level, it'd be easy if the treasure was just the friends we made along the way. That seems like a very anime-esque thing. And why, it makes sense that even the author came out and said, no, it's not going to be the friends we made along the way, is because it gives into this idea of subconsciously giving up, right? The idea that the journey is more important than the goal. When in actuality, if you want to achieve anything in the competitive world, the journey is not as important as the goal. While you may enjoy the journey, while it's important to enjoy what you do, the goal is what you're after. You're not after the journey. And that's why for One Piece, it just doesn't make sense. Because if the goal is in the One Piece and the real treasure is the friends we made along the way, then why continue in the journey to find this treasure when you've already got the friends along the way? But I digress. Let's get back to this video on talking about subconsciously giving up. People see either people who they think have achieved success, people who are just more experienced than them, or somebody else who just seems to be doing better than they are, and it makes them feel like they're lacking something, that, you know, maybe if they had some other thing they could be more successful, and seems to now be determined by some outlying factor and some kind of unfortunate events than actually taking control and looking at what they can do. Things like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have this equipment, I don't have that equipment, I don't live in this country, and stuff here is very different. And if that were true, no one would really be successful, because we can always probably look at someone who's, I guess, better off than we are and think that they should be successful. And I think a way in which people should give up to this is by, I guess, stop enjoying the journey. Stop enjoying the journey as much as you do. Stop being happy with simply having tried and having certain milestones, right? And you know, why it's important to have patience and you shouldn't self-loathe yourself. And it's not I'm saying that you shouldn't enjoy the journey at all, but enjoying the journey shouldn't be your focus. It should just be what keeps motivating you to achieve the goal. At the end of the day, the goal is what's the most important thing. Failure and success are equally as unimportant on the journey to achieving the goal. You learn from both of them, you take the experience from both of them, and you try to achieve the goal. Now, for me personally, I've had some art goals for a long time that I would like to achieve, and honestly, I think at some points I kind of mentally did give up on my goals because it was hard. Art is just hard, as we all know. It's like nothing comes easy. There's so much you have to learn. You have to learn anatomy, and then perspective, and then how things fit together, and then color theory, and then values, and then hues, and then saturation. I don't even know some of the stuff I keep saying right now, but you have to kind of know all of it. And there's so much to learn and so much to practice and so much detail in everything that it just seems hard to master it. And so I think at some point for me, I was also kind of self-satisfied, right? I got satisfied with just the goals I had reached, right? How much had I grown? And while that's important to appreciate how much you've grown and, you know, it should motivate you to move forward, I just kind of enjoyed it. And I was just like, hey, look, at least I've accomplished this. And I wasn't really accomplishing much else. For a long time, I just spent time just thinking about, hey, I think I've achieved this, and I think that's really good for myself. I think other people haven't achieved this, and the fact that I have means, you know, I must be doing something right. But at the same time, I wasn't really advancing. The progress I made over several years could have been made in a few months, now looking back. And honestly, the thing that got me out of this cycle of being continually self-satisfied was looking at people who came after me. The number of people who started art after me who actually just blew past me. And of course, I know that talent plays a role in some of these things. But at the same time, a lot of these people were just working harder. A lot of these people were just breaking barrier after barrier, chasing goal after goal. And here I was happy with, you know, stuff I'd achieved 2-3 years ago, right? And, you know, it made me think about how much I needed to work. And so, you know, I took a challenge on and I decided that I'd draw every day for a year. And although I wanted to make a video on that, I figured this wouldn't be interesting enough. So here are some of the drawings I did in that time. In fact, this is all of them. But back to the point is that, you know, once I actually started to put more effort in and focus on looking ahead instead of looking behind, I actually made more progress. Now I wonder what I would have achieved if I'd been doing this for all that time before. But anyway, at the end of the day, guys, giving up is really something that you want to be in control of. It's okay to give up on your goals. It's okay to prioritize some things in your life over something else. But at the end of the day, if you want to achieve something, if you have an ambitious dream, an ambitious goal, the goal should always be more important than anything else. The goal is more important than the journey. The goal is more important than whether or not you're enjoying what's going on midway through. It's more important than whether you succeed or fail at the little milestones as you go. All those should just be experience that helps you push forward. Looking back and seeing what you achieved should help you move forward. Everything should help you move closer to the goal. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. That's it. Yeah. Now I just make videos when I want. So like, I'll see you whenever I decide to make a video again. Bye. Okay, if you're still here, I don't know why you're here because I already said bye, but like, if you watch anime, then help me out here. How does my brother think that Blue Lock is the second best of all time? Like, I helped him get into anime, but I feel like I failed him if he thinks Blue Lock is the second best. I mean, obviously, I don't even do favorites, so I don't even know what number 1 is, but number 2 is definitely you guys subscribing because you've come this far. You're even in the extra credit scene and you haven't stopped the video. So subscribe, but help me out here. Like, the second best or even the first, like, what is... I don't know, guys. Like, I feel like Blue Lock shouldn't even be top 5. But hey, man, not to say that I don't love the series. I love the series, but it can't be second best.